grammatically, my spell check and everything said, you don't need the different really, you don't need the additional really. We really do. We're really discovering and reaffirming the very essence and the nature of who we are. I like to begin my talks with quotes from our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, so that if I vary sometimes from the basic fundamental teachings of Science of Mind, our viewers who are not familiar with our particular style and our particular teaching will see a connection there somewhere. This is basically a disclaimer for saying that I may go off topic. So Dr. Holmes shares with us this morning from How to Change Your Life these words. When you feel intimately and deeply that nothing separates you from God, you feel a sense of satisfaction, a sense of peace, a sense of strength and freedom, and this comes over you. And when this comes over you, no one who has not chosen to ascend to a much higher spiritual consciousness will ever have this experience. So it reassures that this is something. You know, in our science mind, in our lexicon of language, we use different phrases and different terms to describe God. I remember someone said, why don't you guys just stick to one expression? You know, I have to bring a dictionary with me sometimes to know what you're referring to. We also acknowledge that people come into our tradition that have been wounded by God based on previous experiences that they may have had. They may not be aware of the concept of God, or they may have a different view of God, which is more limiting. And so what we're offering is an expansive and an inclusive view that embraces all faith practices, embraces all belief systems. And so we may refer to God as it. In fact, Dr. Holmes refers to God as it in many of his writings. We may refer to it as the thing itself, this infinite source, this infinite being. So these are all things that we use to unite us rather than separate us. This month we are honoring women's history, and I am highlighting some of the unsung heroes, the women who fought for our rights and their forgotten stories. And so today I would like to highlight Midge Costanza. She was the first female assistant to the President of the United States and became known as a trailblazing feminist and an active LGBTQ rights activist. Costanza became very close friends with Jimmy Carter and was helpful in helping him build his campaign in New York. When he was elected president to the Oval and was elevated to the Oval Office in 1976, Carter appointed her as his presidential assistant. This is the first woman to ever hold this title. While in this position, Costanza challenged Carter on social issues, including equal pay. Sound familiar? Abortion rights. Sound familiar? LGBTQ rights. Rights of others who are marginalized. Sound familiar? Eventually, the press signals were out for being a dissenting voice in the White House, and she resigned from her position in 1978. This Costanza exemplifies the struggle between our true nature and the conditions which others impose upon us based on their experiences. And so this brings us back to the principles and the practices of Science of Mind. What we see in our tradition is the universal dimension of spirit, or God, as the complete universe. And this complete universe is one of wholeness, one of oneness, and it includes all harmoniously, and also those with apparent oppositions. We include everyone. That's what I'm trying to say. Those who may agree with us and those who may disagree with us. And I'll talk more about that a little bit later. We have a prayer technology that we use that is called spiritual mind treatment. And spiritual mind treatment consists of 5 steps. And each step takes us to that place of declaring what it is that we're choosing to experience in our life. And we're declaring it as if it is so. And then the 5th step of spiritual mind treatment is the release. And this is where we speak our word into the universe, knowing that whatever we are speaking for in our lives is activated by the action of love and law. Now the key to this, after we have released our word, we don't go back. We don't go back and snoop around. Or if you planted a plant, you don't go back after you planted it to make sure that the roots are taken. You provide the nourishment and know that it's going to grow on its own. We know that what we have declared is true. And so this leads us now into our topic, I Had It, I Lost It. In his book, The End of the World, Adashate explains this phenomenon of I had it, I lost it. And this is a struggle between our true nature and our imaginary sense of identity. The struggle between our true nature and our imaginary sense of identity. Sometimes we may feel awake. Other times we may remain in a dream state, living in a detached perspective. And both of those, the dream state and the awake state, are elements that are crucial to our survival and to our growth and to our being aware of the reality of who we are. Research into human behavior shows that many people live from a point of view conditioned by their experience, by their family, by their society, and or whatever situation surrounds them. And sometimes we see the world from a particular perspective and identify it as a beautiful world or as a threatening one. We may approach it from a liberal or a conservative point of view. All of this conditioning comes from a dualistic perspective, including the belief that we live on planet Earth and God is present but separate from us. This is duality. That we, in this world of effect, the conditions, the external conditions that we sometimes buy into consciously or unconsciously, lead us down this path of dualism when we believe that God is this man up in the sky that is keeping a scorecard on everything that we're doing, making notes. And the notes are to play gotcha. You missed the mark, so I got you on this one. I'm going to punish you by doing this. That is not the reality of what God is. That is not the reality. So, what we're offering this morning is an invitation to redefine our conditioning. Redefine our conditioning. When we allow stillness to speak to us, as was indicated in our musical inspiration this morning, when we identify those fences that separate us, those artificial fences that separate us, we know that that is an opportunity to let go of that particular action or activity and redefine our coming together in unity as expressions of the divine. We awaken from the material conditioning, and our consciousness becomes liberated from all dual conditions. In redefining our conditioning, we recognize that we are in a state of wholeness, and this washes away any false belief about who we are and also who we are not. So we're finding our way back home. We're walking each other hand in hand, finding our way back home. I'm going to take a bold position this morning and say that all of us, and I realize it's bold when I say all of us follow anything by that, but I really believe that all of us have a desire to expand and develop a spiritual awareness in our lives, regardless of what it is that we've been labeled. There is something that I believe that we are seeking, something that we believe already exists within us and needs to be reactivated in our awareness to know that we are one with this divine source, that we are one with God. The principles and practices of Science Mind provide us with the tools to disidentify with the I. And the I is the ego. And the ego has been defined as edging God out. Now, the ego's purpose is to keep us safe. And this is why when something new is introduced, the ego does this pushback because it's not familiar. And so when we are disidentifying with the I, we set intentions to create safe spaces. We do this in our spiritual communities. We set an intention to create a safe space. We say we're coming together with like-minded people. And yes, we're coming together with people who share spiritual goals, who share a higher vision of life than we currently have. But I want you to think about this for a moment. When we say we're coming together with like-minded people, where is the challenge? Where is the opportunity to entertain another perspective? Where is the opportunity to engage in conversations, to develop what another person thinks? Where is the opportunity to really listen for an understanding rather than listening for how we're going to respond and defend our particular position? I was recently listening to a podcast, and the presenter was talking about the difference between these safe spaces, which there really is no 100% safe space, and offered this idea of brave spaces. And brave spaces are those areas where everyone actively participates. It encourages courageous conversations, confronting our biases, and challenging perspectives constructively. And the key idea here includes controversy with civility. Controversy with civility.
I put my far eyes on.
Owning our intentions and our impacts. And a lot of times we have really great intentions and great ideas of how something is going to work in another community or in another area. We don't always follow through and determine what the impact of our intention may be on that community. I remember when I was in ministerial school, one of my fellow classmates shared an activity that they were involved in with their community, where they had identified a village in Africa that had need for a resource that they had access to. And so they did everything to develop these resources and gather them up and have them shipped to this particular village, only to find out that the village didn't have the resources to implement these items that had been sent over. So this is an example of how where our intentions the impact of our intention isn't always a match. So it's an opportunity for us to evaluate and to look deeper at what we are intending and the impact it's going to have. Within this area of brave spaces also includes ideas that are challenged with respect and there are no attacks. In other words, what I like to say is we drop the nice and funny. Give the nice little courtesy smile, the cheerleader smile, or whatever it is that says, I'm looking at you, but, it's not working this morning. It's not working today. drop that in those brave communities and we have the hard conversations, when we bring respect into the situation, when we bring civility into the situation. And this is what I believe that our spiritual community is leaning towards. I believe we truly are leaning towards brave spaces. And I'm inviting us to set an intention to incorporate that into all of our interactions. And stay tuned for more opportunities because I'm really excited about having us engage in brave space conversations. Disidentifying with the I, the self that believes in separation, allows for our lives to improve as we recognize we are more than any experience we have previously had in our lives. Ricky Byers wrote a song, and the lyrics in that song are, God is more than this. And we can fill in that blank with whatever this is. God is more than this. Spirit is more than this. And as we move beyond those experiences that we've had in the past, we recognize that we are more than just a box that we would check on a form or an application. That we're more than just our sex or our gender. We're more than the pronouns that we choose. We're more than our skin color or nationality. We are more than our own perception of whatever we see or feel about ourselves. And so letting go of the I, we feel we have found our home. We live as spirit, and we embody a life of fullness. In the New Testament, in the book of John, chapter 20, verse 39, are these words: Blessed are those who have not seen and have believed. There is so much wisdom in these words as they encourage us to blindly release another way to describe the fifth step of our spiritual mind treatment. When we are in that place where we can blindly release whatever those past experiences are, not bring them back into memory, not allow them to identify our moving forward, we surrender to the total faith that this something, again, another word for God, or another word for spirit, something told me. How many of us have heard this expression? Something told me to go this way, and I went this way, and these are the results from going this way rather than going that way. Something tells us that we are beyond, that we go beyond our human form. And this something has no form and it has no explanation. Before there was a time and a number, this something existed. And this something is the essence of who we are. It is our life. It is our design. It is the totality of everything that we know today as good. And we are part of that good. Consciously, we can live in the way of this something that is called life without questioning it. Eckhart Tolle says this: surrender is surrendering to this moment, not to a story in which we interpret the moment and then try to resign ourselves to it. We put all ego aside. We accept that we don't know, or we don't know why. And we give up wanting the logical answers to our limited mind to allow the something that is greater than us and yet connects us to move us out of that bloated nothingness into the awareness that we are one with God. We're one with life. We're one with everything that there is. And so, letting go of the ego, blindly releasing it, boldly releasing it, disidentifying with the I, moves us to our call to action for this week. This week, I invite you to explore the Al-Shante phrase, I had it and I lost it. I had it and I lost it. Letting go of all resistance trusting in life's guidance. When we encounter the idea of struggle between our imaginary sense of ego and the ego sense identity, when we let go of that struggle, this is where we discover our true nature. We redefine our conditioning. We disidentify with the ego self, and we identify with the I am, our true nature that is expressed in our daily lives. And I invite us now to say our affirmation together, and we'll say this together twice.
I am guided by the peace of God that lives within me. I am guided by the peace of God that lives within me.
You could spell peace a different way.
Going back to the beginning. In the beginning, God. This one life, this one power, this one presence, this one source for all that is defined as good and goodness, graciousness and love and peace and joy and harmony. All of the qualities that we seek to express and to embrace in our lives. We go back to the beginning, knowing that each one is an individualized expression of pure spirit. That we live, move, and have our beingness as the life of God, as the life of this energetic force, which holds everything in perfect harmony. And so I speak my word this morning in gratitude, especially for this spiritual community that is known as the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living. This beacon of light that sits on a hill overlooking the bay, that is inviting everyone to this awareness that there's something bigger than what I know to be of myself. There's something greater, and yet I am a part of that. I am not separate from it. I am one with all that there is. I speak a word of gratitude this morning for places where individuals are gathering in the name and nature of oneness, knowing that each one is on their own individual path. And so there are points along the way where our paths may intersect. And it's at those points of intersections we recognize that we're just walking each other home. And so on this walk, as we walk hand in hand, or walk side by side, or sometimes we may lead, or sometimes we may follow. On this walk, we know that we are one with Spirit. I speak my word this morning for those who are experiencing transitions in their lives, knowing that the way is being made smooth, even though there's turbulence. Turbulence in the water, turbulence in our lives, turbulence in the way that we are showing up or the way that others are showing up. And yet, as we move through these transitions, we're moving with grace. We're moving with elegance. We're moving knowing that we are the life of God expressing. And so I'm declaring right livelihood in all of our lives. I'm declaring right housing. I'm declaring right responses to those situations that may knock us off kilter, knowing that everything that we have is provided within us to respond to whatever the experience and the situation is. And so we pause. We go within. We take that breath. We may take one breath. We may take 2 breaths. We may take 3 breaths. We may take many more breaths. And we allow that breath to center us, to bring us to that place of knowing and listening to that still small voice that is always giving us guidance. And so for this and so much more, I am eternally grateful. Releasing this word into the activity of action and the action of love and law, letting it go, not digging it up to see if it's working, just trusting and knowing it is absolutely working for my highest and the highest and best of everyone that is involved. I surrender and let go. And if any of what I have said resonates with you in any way, let us affirm it together by saying,
And so it is.
And this is our time to, I was going to resist this. Resist not is what the voice is saying. Just a reminder for those here in the center and those who may be viewing online, we do have prayer practitioners to support us along this journey. Support us with the celebrations and to support us with those things that we are not yet ready to celebrate, to work through those seeming challenges and opportunities. And here in the center we have a prayer box and we have prayer requests, and I just encourage you to fill out a prayer request and allow the practitioners and the ministers to be in prayer with you. For those of you who are viewing online, we do have a prayer request online. It comes into a secure mailbox, and we invite you to take advantage of those opportunities. And now is the time for us to participate in the flow of circulation. And we have a statement of abundance that we will have on our screen, and invite us to say this together.
I recognize the presence of God within as the source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness.
And again, thank you for the ways that you show up and continue to support our center. And our usher will pass the offering basket here in the center. For those who are viewing online, you may donate by mailing in your contributions, and our address is on the screen. 400 West Franklin Street, Monterey, California, 93940. For those of you who donate online, those of you who donate online through our website, www.montereycsl.org, we appreciate that. And you may also text him, and that phone number is 831-246-9694. I don't have my cheat sheet this morning. Thank God for our beautiful tech team that provides this information for us so that I don't have to do that. And so I believe that we have some opportunities for engagement. Just want to invite our Facebook and YouTube family to visit our website to sign up for our newsletter so that you may be aware of the activities that are going on here in the center. And I realize that many of our viewers, and I'm grateful for the number of viewers that are non-local, that do tune in, so we're getting the word out. I invite you to like and comment. And I understand that the Facebook algorithms only require 3 words for that to make a difference in the number of exposures that we get. So if you would just go in and put 3 words, a 3-word comment in, we would really appreciate it to help us expand this truth that God is and all is well in our lives. And so we invite our viewers to return next week as we continue our series. And what is the topic next week? It's on my cheat sheet.
My phone's being used for live. I don't know.
It may be on page 2.
We only have page 1. We don't have it. Oh, is it? Oh, the flow of coming and going, planting my intentions.
What was the topic again?
Planting my intentions.
Planting my intentions. Thank you. intentions is our topic next week, so we invite you to join us. And so for those of us who are here in